If you woke up this morning and felt something was finally shifting in your favor, you were right. Because starting in July, 3 quiet but powerful changes to Social Security are landing, and the people who understand them first will absolutely come out ahead. Miss them, and you could lose hundreds, even thousands of dollars, money that by law belongs to you. Let me show you exactly what is changing, why it matters to your wallet, and the simple steps that will protect every dollar you deserve. The first surprise is the biggest one, and almost nobody is talking about it yet. On July 4th, 2025, the President signed a law called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It is real. It is in effect. And buried inside that law is an extra $6,000 tax deduction for seniors. Yes, you heard that right. $6,000 on top of what you already get, available to anyone age 65 or older who files a federal tax return. Here is how it works in plain English. If you are 65 or older, you normally get a small extra bump on your standard deduction. That older bump is still there. But now, the new law adds a fresh $6,000 deduction just for you. If you are married, and both of you are 65 or older, the deduction doubles to $12,000. That is money that comes straight off the part of your income the government can tax. So, if a part of your Social Security is normally taxed, this deduction lowers that tax bill, sometimes to zero. Let me make this real with a simple example. Picture a retired couple living on Social Security plus a modest pension. Their income is around $60,000 a year. Under the old rules, a slice of their Social Security was taxed. Under the new rules, the additional $12,000 deduction wipes out most of that tax. They keep more of their money, with no extra work, no extra forms, no hoops to jump through. For a single senior earning around $40,000 a year, the $6,000 deduction often lowers their tax bill by several $100s. That is a car payment. That is a quarter of the grocery bill. That is peace of mind. But here's the part most people will miss. This deduction has an income phase out. If you are a single filer and your modified adjusted gross income goes above $75,000, the deduction starts shrinking by 6% for every extra dollar above that line. Once your income passes $175,000, the deduction is gone. For married couples, the phase out begins at $150,000 and ends at $250,000. So this benefit is aimed at average and middle income retirees. If you are wealthy, you will not get the full $6,000. And here is the second catch. The deduction only applies to tax years 2025, 2026, and 2027. After 2028, it disappears unless Congress extends it. That is why acting now matters. You have 3 years to claim it, and the first one is already here. You may be asking, what do I actually need to do? Almost nothing. When you file your 2025 tax return next spring, the $6,000 deduction will be built into the tax forms and tax software. If you use a tax preparer, just ask them to make sure they apply the additional senior deduction. If you prepare your own return, the major software providers will walk you through it automatically. But do not assume your preparer knows. Many still do not. Speak up. Ask by name. Say, did you apply the additional $6,000 deduction for seniors from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? That single question could save you $1,000 or more. Before I move on, here is the part of the video I really need you to engage with. If this channel has helped you understand money in a clear, calm, and honest way, tap the like button right now. It costs you nothing, and it tells the algorithm that real people need this information. And while you are at it, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. That way, when the next surprise drops, you will hear about it first, before your neighbor does, before your coworker does, before the noise online catches up. Now let me take you into surprise number 2, and this one carries a serious warning. For years, there was a quiet fear hanging over millions of retirees. If the Social Security Administration decided you had been overpaid, even by mistake, even for a small amount from many years ago, they could take back 100% of your monthly check until the debt was gone. Imagine that. 100% of your Social Security gone in a single month, while your rent, your groceries, and your medicine still need to be paid. That fear was real. Lawsuits were filed. News outlets ran headlines. Retirees were losing the money they needed to live. Here is the good news. In late July 2025, a much fairer rule quietly began. The Social Security Administration lowered the default overpayment withholding rate from 100% down to 50%. In real life, that means if the agency says you were overpaid, they will now take half of your benefit at most, and only after they send you a written notice and give you a chance to respond. You still have rights, you still have time, and you still get to keep half of your income while the matter is reviewed. This change matters because the policy was not just unfair, it was dangerous. Picture a 72-year-old widow living alone, relying on her $1,600 monthly check to pay her mortgage and her utilities. Under the old rule, a $6,000 overpayment from a decade ago could wipe out nearly 4 months of benefits. She would have to choose between food and electricity. Under the new 50% cap, she loses $800 a month. Painful, but survivable. She keeps the other $800 to survive on. That is the difference between a crisis and a hardship. That is why this change matters so much. If you ever receive one of these overpayment notices, do not panic, do not throw the letter away, open it, read it carefully, and act within 30 days. You have the right to ask for a reconsideration. You have the right to request that the agency stop or lower the withholding if it would cause you financial hardship. You can call the Social Security Administration or visit your local office and ask to speak with a representative about a waiver request. Many overpayments are caused by mistakes the agency itself made. If that is your case, say so clearly and put it in writing. Keep copies of every form and every letter. That paper trail is your protection. But I also want to warn you about something most people do not realize. The 50% cap only applies to Social Security retirement, disability, and survivor benefits. It does not yet apply the same way to supplemental security income, where the cap remains much lower. And the agency can still place a lien on future benefits or refer your case to the Treasury Department for collection if they believe you have the ability to repay. So the cap is a major improvement, but it is not a free pass. Staying informed is what keeps you safe. That is exactly why channels like this one matter, because we go beyond the headlines. Now here is surprise number 3, and this one is pure good news for a specific group of Americans who have waited a very long time. On January 5th, 2025, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law. This law ended 2 punishing rules that had quietly stolen benefits from public servants for decades. The first rule was called the Windfall Elimination Provision. The second was called the Government Pension Offset. Together, they reduced or even wiped out Social Security benefits for teachers, firefighters, police officers, postal workers, and many other public employees whose pensions came from work that did not pay into Social Security. If you are one of those Americans, or you know one, listen closely. Beginning in late February 2025, the Social Security Administration started raising monthly benefit payments for people affected by those 2 rules. And for many, this has been the first real raise in years. We are talking about hundreds of dollars a month more, year after year, for the rest of your life. But the most emotional part is what came next. In March 2025, the agency began paying retroactive benefits, going all the way back to January 2024, the month the new law took effect. That means a teacher who retired in 2015 and lost a portion of her Social Security every single month since then is now receiving a lump sum check covering those lost dollars. For some, that retroactive payment is in the thousands. For others, it is in the tens of thousands. It is the kind of money that pays off a credit card, replaces a furnace, or finally clears a medical bill that has been collecting dust for years. Let me share a real-life example to make this stick. Picture a former school teacher named Maria. She taught for 32 years in a state where teachers do not pay into Social Security. She also worked a part-time job for 15 years that did pay in. When she retired, the windfall elimination provision cut her Social Security benefit by nearly $200 a month. For a decade, she assumed that was just how it worked. Then, the Social Security Fairness Act passed. Maria received a retroactive check for more than $20,000 in March, and her monthly check went up by $190. That is $2,280 extra dollars a year, every year, for the rest of her life. More than that, she felt respected after years of feeling penalized for serving her community. If you think this applies to you, here is what to do. Log into your My Social Security account online, or create one if you have not yet. Confirm that your mailing address and direct deposit information are current. If you are affected and you were already receiving benefits, the agency will adjust your monthly payment automatically. You do not need to apply again. But if you have not yet filed for benefits and you believe the windfall elimination provision or government pension offset was hurting you, you can apply online at ssa.gov/apply. And please do this sooner rather than later. The sooner you file, the sooner your benefits begin, and the more months of retroactive pay you may receive. Now let me bring these 3 surprises together, because that is where the real power lives. Surprise 1 gives you a $6,000 tax deduction. Surprise 2 caps your risk at 50% instead of 100% if an overpayment dispute ever appears. And Surprise 3 gives some Americans a long overdue raise and a retroactive lump sum check that can total tens of thousands of dollars. None of these require you to fight a bureaucracy. None of these require you to risk your money. They only require you to pay attention and to act when action is needed. Let me walk through a quick mental checklist you can use right now. First, if you are 65 or older, plan to claim the new $6,000 deduction on your 2025 tax return. Talk to your tax preparer. Confirm you are not missing it. Second, if you ever get an overpayment letter from Social Security, do not panic and do not ignore it. Open it. Respond. Ask for a waiver if repayment would cause hardship. The 50% rule protects you from the worst-case scenario. Third, if you are a public servant whose pension was affected by the windfall elimination provision or government pension offset, log into your My Social Security account, verify your information, and confirm that your retroactive payment and monthly increase have been processed. If they have not, call the agency and ask. Here's something I want you to notice about all three surprises. They all reward the same trait. The people who come out ahead are the people who stay informed and act early. Nobody is going to chase you down and hand you this money. The government does not call. The agency does not knock on your door. The benefit exists only if you know about it and use it. That is the entire game. And the cost of playing is just attention. The cost of not playing is leaving real money on the table. I also want to speak to the emotional side of this because money is not just math. Money is calm. Money is the ability to sleep at night. Money is knowing that if your car breaks down, you can fix it. Money is knowing your mother in the nursing home is cared for. Money is dignity. When a new tax deduction gives you an extra $1,000, that is one less argument with your spouse about whether to buy the medicine. When an overpayment cap keeps half of your check coming in, that is one more night of peaceful sleep. When a long denied raise finally lands in your bank account, that is one less feeling of being forgotten by the country you served. These changes are not abstract. They change the texture of your daily life. That is why they matter so deeply. Now let me share the bigger picture, because this is where everything clicks. The new senior tax deduction helps you keep more of what you earned. The 50% overpayment cap protects you from losing what you already have. The Social Security Fairness Act retroactively restores what some of you were wrongly denied. Together, they form a kind of quiet safety net. They cannot fix every problem. They cannot replace smart planning or honest budgeting, but they can stop the worst leaks and they can put real money back in your pocket. Few things in life are that straightforward and that fair. If there is one lesson I want you to carry from this video, it is this. Money leaks happen quietly, and they are usually fixed only by people who pay attention. The deduction does not apply itself. The overpayment cap does not defend itself. The retroactive payment does not send itself. Each one needs you to know it exists. That is the entire reason I make videos like this. Not to entertain, not to chase clicks, to hand you information that protects your wallet and respects your time. So what should you do in the next 30 minutes? Open your My Social Security account on your phone or computer and make sure your contact information is correct. Add or update your direct deposit so no check ever goes missing in the mail. Then sit down with a calm mind and ask yourself 3 questions. Am I 65 or older, and have I planned to claim the new $6,000 deduction? Have I received any past overpayment notice I still need to address? Am I, or is someone I love, a former public servant who may have been affected by the windfall elimination provision or government pension offset? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, take the first step today. It is small, it is simple, and it may be worth thousands. And before we close, let me say something direct. If this information protects even one person on this channel from losing $1 they did not need to lose, or helps one person claim a benefit they did not know about, then this entire video was worth making. That is the only measure of success I care about. So please, share this video with a parent, a sibling, a neighbor, or a friend who is 65 or older or who worked in public service. You could literally hand them money they did not realize they had coming. That is what sharing really does here. It is not a gesture, it is a gift. If you found value here, hit the like button right now and leave a comment telling me which surprise surprised you the most or which one applies to your situation. I read those comments and your stories help shape the next video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because the next set of changes is already on the horizon and you do not want to find out about them from a stranger in a checkout line. Share this with one person today. That single share could be the most generous financial decision you make all week. The bottom line is simple. 3 quiet changes are landing in July. A $6,000 tax deduction for seniors, a 50% cap on overpayment clawbacks, and retroactive raises for public servants long penalized under 2 outdated rules. None of these changes ask for your money. None of these changes ask for your risk. They only ask for your attention. And now you have it. That is the whole point. Stay informed, act early, keep what is yours.